David Brewster here, new episode of Three-For-All. This is 3 Reb Beach Licks from 2011, and I featured Reb several times on the channel. There's a Three-For-All episode from a few years ago, and also the chord play episode, The Chords of Winger. And I've had some requests to feature more of Reb's music. And in the recent Joel Hoekstra Three-For-All episode, I mentioned I was going to put together a Reb Beach Three-For-All. And originally I was going to use the footage where Joel's, licks and ideas came from, because, Reb and Joel played with Whitesnake at the same time during that tour. But instead, I actually stumbled upon a bunch of Reb Beach, clinics and this raw footage of him jamming. So I shifted gears and I actually, steered more toward this candid kind of backstage footage with him instead of, the live guitar solo that I originally had planned. So there's some cool ideas. It's all tapping in this lesson, but there's some really cool ideas coming from Reb Beach. So here we go. Even though most people associate Reb with Winger, which he definitely did hit the scene with Winger, back in the day in the 80s, but, since that time, Reb's worked with Whitesnake and Dokken. Back in the day, he did a lot of session work, for people like Howard Jones and Chaka Khan. But here's an image with some of the people that Reb's worked with in his career, either on stage or behind the scenes, recording in the studio. But very impressive. I actually thought of this when I put the Winger chord play episode together, and also at the end of last year when I picked up Winger's, debut album on vinyl. And as much as I want to claim that I'm somebody cool like Beavis or Butthead, I realized, no, I'm actually Stuart Stevenson. I'm a huge nerd. Winger rocks. I love Reb Beach and 80s, hard rock and metal and stuff. So I'm totally Stuart Stevenson, but I'm okay with that. All right, the first lick's this Eddie Van Halen-style tapping phrase, and it's based around E minor pentatonic, and I'm claiming this is Eddie Van Halen influence because the first time I ever heard or saw this lick was during Van Halen's Live Without a Net, home video. And Eddie does this lick dozens of times during that concert video, which that was 1986, I guess, when that was, shot and recorded. But I'm sure Eddie did this before that video. But if you watch Live Without a Net, like I said, Eddie does, variations of this lick dozens of times throughout that concert. And the lick itself, something like this. One more time. And I also noticed, Reb kind of has like Michael Schenker syndrome, where he avoids using his pinky. He does a lot of stuff with his, his middle and third finger, for stretching and reaching up, and he avoids using his pinky almost like Michael Schenker. So I was doing that the way Reb did. Normally I would use my pinky there. And you could also use two fingers to tap with, your middle on the high E and index on the B. Like that. But that's basically E minor pentatonic right there. We're basically grabbing that G, E, D, B, and then we're tapping this A and that E note right there, like this. And then Reb actually extends this higher, and then he starts grabbing this B note and that F sharp right there, which is really cool. I'm just ending there on that E note. We actually looked at this lick in the original Reb Beach, Three-For-All episode from a few years ago because it continues, but I just wanted to kind of revisit this because that is a really cool lick. And you can do it that way or with the pinky. You could also move it down in octaves like this. The same lick, just an octave lower right there. Get down another octave right here. Really cool lick, and I like that kind of Van Halen origin right there.
You tap and pull. AC. And you can move it around.
The next lick's actually the next part of this candid footage, whether he's backstage or in a club somewhere. I think it was actually filmed in Italy in 2011. But he talks about moving this, kind of Van Halen-inspired tapping lick to other locations and use open strings, like this. Something like that. So we're basically tapping E and B right there on the 12th fret on the high E and B string, and then you're changing, with your fret hand as far as what you're playing, like this. And that's really interesting because you're tapping E and you're also tapping B. You're also using the high E and B strings open. And then you're also fretting a B and an E right there on the 7th fret high E and 5th fret on the B. So that first pass is just a whole bunch of E's and B's all mixed together. And then you're going to move back to where you have A and C sharp right there. That's kind of like an A9 kind of. And right there's D sharp, and you're also grabbing that F sharp right there. Like that. It's kind of like an E major 9 implied right there. And even though Reb didn't do it in the footage, but he actually does sometimes move this back like that, where he's grabbing C sharp and that E. So moving all the way through it. Modern, flavor to it. I like it. I think we actually saw this in the other Reb Beach, the original Three-For-All for Reb, from a few years ago. But I did show that lick before, but I didn't do this with it. So let's move that to another set of strings. Let's do it right here. And there you're tapping, G and D, and then you're moving that fretted part to that D note and that G note on the G and the D string. So you're doing the same thing we did on the high E and B, just on a different set of strings, like that. Experiment with that lick and move it around other sets of strings or in other keys too. Really cool idea.
Open strings. Move your hand around.
The next lick's pretty terrifying, and we haven't seen this one before, but this is a tapped E Aeolian or natural minor scale run. And it's something like this. It's pretty terrifying. One more time. And if we go slow, you can actually see what he's doing. So his left hand is literally grabbing this. And then you're tapping in there too. So you're going to come up, E, F sharp, G, and tap A. Release the tap, and then go back down, G, F sharp, E. And then you're going to reach over here and grab D on the B string like this. When you get to that D note, that's where you're going to tap E there, release the tap, and then you're going to go down D, C, B, go back up C, D, tap that E note again, release it, and go back down D, C, B, like this. Alright, so really slow in the beginning. When you get back to that B note, then you're going to reach around and grab this A, and then you're going to tap that B. So you're kind of mimicking the same thing we did between the high E and B, but now you're doing it between the B and the G, like this. Right? And then when he gets down to that F sharp, he really just grabs G and then ends on E. So really, really slow. down the stairs kind of lick, but it's really cool. Here's a bonus lick from this footage, and it's actually a 2-octave Aeolian tapped run. And for years, I actually didn't really understand how Reb was playing this lick, because I noticed like his third finger of his right hand moving sometimes when he would do these crazy, scale runs tapped. And during this footage, he explains he actually plucks the adjacent string he's going to use with his third finger. I always thought he was tapping with that finger, but I'm going to play the footage first so we can actually see the master here break down this lick, and then we're going to talk about it. So here's Reb explaining this crazy tapping run that he does a lot.
I get to the next string by pulling on the next string with the whatever, middle finger. No, this is my middle finger, the ring finger of my left hand. Just going up a minor scale, minor E.
It's Aeolian, and Reb's basically playing this. Right, just a kind of a scale run there. If you used a pick, it would actually be a little cleaner. So it's a 2-octave, just over 2 octaves there. Because we're actually ending on G instead of E right there. But then as far as tapping that, we're not going to do it that way. We're going to do it this way. So it's really unusual. And you're going to start with that fretted E, move up F sharp to G, tap A, and then you're going to shift to the D string and start on B right there. So it's really unusual because Eddie, Van Halen, typically he would start tapping licks with the tap and then release the tap and either hammer on or pull off, with his fret hand. This is totally different. We're starting with a fretted note and ending with the tap note like that. And then move to the next string D, starting on that B note right there, but on the D string. And then you're going to move up again right there. Move up again right here. And there's that G at the end. So really slow. And actually at the end, that's where I found it really useful to do that kind of pluck with your middle finger, because keep in mind, Reb's doing this. And he's plucking his way through. For that B note right there, that's where he's plucking. I'm actually using my middle finger. I think he uses his third finger for that pluck. And it's really unusual. It's awkward. I'm not used to doing that really. I actually just adapted it to using hammer-ons from nowhere, like this. I'm just basically hammering on all the way through it. Without that plucked finger action that Reb was doing, like this. And it is useful, I found, at the end. Because we're ending on that G note, and that's actually kind of, useful using that pluck. But I found it very awkward and kind of clunky to do it all the way across. But I did find luck with it at the end. Really cool. That's going to wrap this look at 3 Reb Beach Licks from 2011. A dynamite monster guitarist. And, his non-tapping phrases in music is very interesting and inspiring too. Not to mention his chord and rhythm work, his riffs and stuff for songs. Always, just great stuff. Dynamite package player for sure. And Reb definitely has a very individualized and stylistic, playing style, because some of his, approaches and techniques are very individual to him. So if you have trouble with some of these ideas playing it Reb's way, I definitely recommend explore it your way. Like if you find a different fingering or a different way of kind of maneuvering or moving, experiment with it, because there's definitely more than one way to play some of this stuff. And you can definitely, notice that on my channel if you're looking through different videos. There's more than one way to do almost anything on the guitar. So explore his way and then explore some of your ideas or variations and stuff. So anyway, leave some feedback and comments. Please subscribe to Lessons, and I'll be back before you know with more content and material. Thank you.